Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how you can make custom planes in your custom stories or mods. And it's pretty simple actually. All you need is the PNG file that you want to appear in the game, and that's what you start off with, and you can make everything else out from that in the Amnesia tools, although I'm going to be using an extra program that I'm going to link, which is going to make it better. It's not required, but I'm going to show you later about that. Also, if you don't know what a plane is exactly, then it's the primitive, it's just a square, a 2D square that you can place in your level. You usually use it for floors and sometimes ceilings, and it's pretty commonly used. It's actually quite common for pretty much all floors in the whole Amnesia universe, pretty much. So you should know what a plane is. And when you load a plane, you select which texture it's supposed to have by selecting the .mat file, the material. But you don't have a material. You usually, if you have your own, you only have this PNG file. So we're going to have to create the material file from the PNG file using the material editor. So first of all, I'm going to open the Amnesia root directory. And by the way, this works just the same on Windows. Even the program I'm going to link is for Mac and Windows. So if you're wondering, then this should work fine for both. And I'm not sure if the program is for Linux, but I know that this method should work for Linux as well, since Amnesia is cross-platform. But anyways, I'm opening my Amnesia root directory. You should know where to find this, and if you have it on Steam, you can go and right-click Amnesia and go properties and browse local files, and you'll be able to pop up this folder no matter what system you're on. And well, you should know this if you're making custom stories. I'm gonna go into my custom stories folder right here, and this is my example. And for some reason my mouse is messing up and it seems to double click a lot. I'm not sure what the problem is with that. I wish I could fix that. But anyways, I'm gonna make a new folder inside my custom story, and I'm gonna call it let's just call it planes, really. If you're making a mod, you will probably want to be a bit more specific, but in a custom story it doesn't really matter that much. So I'm just going to name it planes, and I'm going to put the concrete texture. This is how it looks, by the way. It's it's a pretty large file, and this is how it looks. And apparently I'll right click that too. I mean double click. There you go. I'm going to put that inside planes. And one more thing, make sure that the texture file is a cubic resolution, as in it's the same amount of pixels wide as high, and those need to be a number that can be divided by 8 and such, or multiplied by 8 or whatever, from 1 to 3. Sorry, I lost it a bit there. Anyways, what I mean is that most likely the resolution of the texture that you want would be 512 by 512 or 1024 by 1024 pixels each way, which is this one is 1024, I'm pretty sure, but 512 works just as fine. You can use that one instead if you like. So I'm going to place it in there. And now I'm going to open my material editor that I have right here. It should be located in your root directory. If you don't have it, I have a shortcut, but you should be able to know where to find it. And it looks like this. And the way you use this is that you select the file, and then you do some settings with that file to make it appear in the game. So first of all, you want to go on texture units and check off diffuse, because it's the only thing you can do there. And this is where you just select the file. So select it and navigate to it. Custom stories, custom story, planes, concrete PNG, 1024 by 1024 2D texture. Click OK, and you should load that. It's still not visible though, because you need to select a material. So first of all, you want to go on general and select the type. Since this one is going to be just a standard plane, put it to solid fuse. If it's going to be transparent, put it to translucent. And then there's the rest for water. And now it appears like this. And this is just a preview box. It's not the actual game, but preview. And physics material, you can select what kind of physics it's going to be. And since this is concrete, I'm going to select rock reverb, which means it sounds like rock when you step on it, except it has a slight echo, which I think fits to this material. Otherwise, you can select like wood or water or whatever. Actually, yeah, water's there. And silent if you want that, or you can select just dirt or something like that, depending on the material you want this to sound like. Other than that, there are a few things that we're gonna add later on, but this is all we need to do for now. So go on File and Save As, and just navigate to the same folder. That's probably the best. And you might as well name it the same, Concrete. So now it pops up concrete.mat right here. It's just a material file that tells the game to use this texture and these specific settings. So I'm going to minimize that for now, and let's go back. Let's open up the Amnesia level editor this time. And I'm just going to use this blank here, and I'm going to make a new file by, well, it starts off at this new file. Pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on Primitives at 9 and select the material. And now I'm going to navigate to the material file that we just created in Planes. It is listed here now, just like the PNG, except it's .mat this time. Select OK. Wait, did I didn't select it. There we go. And make sure it's selected and everything, and then you can just drag a plane just like you usually would, and now the texture, custom texture, is in your game. And that's pretty simple actually. But of course, if you don't know, it's going to be a bit tricky to find out, but once you do know, it's a pretty simple thing to do. Now, more settings you can do with planes, of course. Well, if you use the level editor a lot, you should know this, but of course on the plane tab you can select the tile amount. So if you decrease the tile amount, that'll make the texture larger, as in it'll be more stretched out like that. One more thing about the texture, you want to make sure that the texture transitions nicely to the other texture, because as you can see, there are slight lines right here, which means the texture doesn't transition perfectly, as in it's not the exact same on the right side as the left side. So therefore you want to make sure that they transition so that it won't look like you are actually placing a shit ton of boxes all over the place. Therefore, of course, one way you can do this in Photoshop, for example, is that you can split it in half and copy one side to the other side, and that'll fix it. Otherwise, that's up to you to fix if you want to do that. I recommend you do, but it's not required. It's just for it to make it look good. Yeah, so anyways, now we have it in the game, and that's pretty much what you need to do. But I'm going to do another thing, which is going to make this a whole lot better. It's going to look much better, but before I do that, I'm going to just show you how this looks in the game itself. So I'm going to place a spawn point right there, and let's just put up some walls real quick. Castle base, let's find some walls down here. Default, this one. Let's place that one there. I'm not going to make this level really look nice or anything. I'm just going to put up some walls, really, like that. And there. Okay, it looks terrible, but just to do things quick. Anyways, we're gonna spawn in there, and of course one more thing we're gonna need is a light value, or else we can't see anything. So I'm gonna put a box light over this thing, like that. So that's covering the whole thing. Decrease the light so it doesn't look awful in there. It doesn't look too bright. Click OK, and there you go. So now I'm gonna save this map. Custom story maps. I'm gonna call it just map.map. Simply enough. Minimize that. Now if we go back to custom story, you should see the map.map in here. If I were to script for it, I would make a script file, but I don't need a script file for this one. And I also got to go into the config and change the map to map.map. Close that, and now we can start up Amnesia to see how this concrete textures looks in game. Alright, let's see. Starting up the game. Custom story, this one. Okay, so that's a void. These are the walls. But this is how the texture looks in the game, and it looks pretty good though. I mean, it's not terrible, and you can use it like this. Although what I'm gonna do is gonna make it a lot better, I promise. I mean, right now it's acceptable and people wouldn't notice, but if you do what I'm gonna do soon, people are gonna be like, wow, that looks cool. And if you step over this, you can hear the little reverb of the stone sound effect. Yeah, but anyways, so I'm gonna close the game, and I'm gonna completely close the game, because when you're making changes to the assets, you usually want to close the game to make sure that it actually updates. And go away, Steam News. Now, the thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a program that is for Windows and Mac. I don't think it's for Linux though, but it's called CrazyBump. And this program is excellent for this particular thing right here. I'm not sure how the Windows version looks like, but oh shit. But I know that it should look similar to the Mac one, I suppose. Now, first of all, I'm gonna go into the planes folder, and I'm gonna just copy this concrete texture so I have it on the desktop. It's a little easier to navigate to when I click open. And you want to open photograph from file, and that's gonna be like you opening the main texture, and select concrete.texture if this is like first time or whatever. You want to select the file that you want to improve. CrazyBump is thinking. Now you want to select one of these, and this can be a little difficult. Basically what I'm gonna do right now is that I'm gonna map this file to make it appear in the game as way more 3D-ish, if you know what I'm talking about. Like it looks like this file is not just a plane, it looks like it's going up and down in the terrain. And that's what this is gonna do. I'm gonna also add a specularity map, which makes so that it changes the way light travels over this map as well, over this texture. So I'm gonna select this one. I usually do, but it depends on what you want to actually look like, because the light is gonna be like up and the dark is gonna be down, I believe. So I'm gonna select this one, and it looks like this, and there is a 3D preview right here, and as you can see, the texture now looks like it's a ball. I mean, this is exactly a ball, but the texture makes it look like it has all these little ditches, all these little poked holes or whatever, these little grimy textures all over the place. So it looks very 3D-ish. It looks very detailed and everything, and you can see the light travel over it as you do. I'm gonna go in options though, and I'm gonna take off the colored lights, so it's just black and white. And I'm gonna change it to a box. And when you click it, you can drag it, and this is how it looks right now. So of course, this is just a texture. This is just for the texture, and yeah, so this is what you change on the settings. You can change the settings to make it look a little different in here. For example, intensity, if you change that up or down, you can see a very large change in the texture. So basically you want to just play around with these settings. I try to keep things mostly as they are, or edit them if I feel the need to. Usually wood doesn't shine as much, and other things have certain things there are certain other things, but basically we just want to play around with these settings and make them as you wish them to look like in the game. So we can do some sharpening if you want, although I'm not. Noise removal, it's gonna make it clearer, but I'm not gonna do that either. Shape recognition, yeah, I'm gonna keep that up. Very fine detail. I don't notice that most of these details do anything except for the a very large detail. If you put that one up, it's gonna look very, very smooth, as you can see. And if you put it down, I believe it does mostly the same if you put it down, but just keep this a little bit up. I think 30 is default, like that. So it's basically the big one. Anyways, so now that I've done that, I'm gonna click save, and save normals to file. This is the normal map, by the way, and it'll come up with this name suggestion. I believe the default one will be a capital NRM, but just save it. It doesn't matter exactly what it's called, you just need something to distinguish it from the normal concrete. So it keeps opening. Double click, annoying. This is the main texture, and this is the normal map texture. So as you can see, it looks strange, but it's not going to appear like this in the game. If you look through the Amnesia files, you might notice that there are already some files like these that look like they're a texture, but the colors are all wrong and everything. This is going to be applied to this as a filter, basically, and it's going to make this texture look a lot more 3D. One more thing though, before we close CrazyBump. Stop closing. God, this is so annoying. I don't know what to do to fix this mouse. I think it's the mouse though, because I restarted and replugged it and it's still not working. Anyways, you want to click on Specularity. There's a little tab around here. And if this is different for Windows, I'm not too sure. I haven't tried the Windows one. I just know it's for Windows as well. But hopefully it looks similar and something you can still look around for. And this is how you change where the light is traveling. So if you put this light up, actually this one's not. Let's see. Oh, it's a specularity map. It's only these settings that apply to the specularity map. So these don't do anything to this, but this is for the lights. Anyways, so brightness. If you put brightness all the way up, so now it's just a white. It's gonna make everything really, really shiny. And if you put brightness all the way down, it's not gonna have any shine at all. So it's like you want to level it so that it has some of the texture in it, but it's not too bright or not too dark, so that you can at least see some nice texture reflection. This is usually when you like if you have a lamp next to it or your lantern is moving next to it, it's gonna make the light from it reflect in this way. Contrast, brightness. You can level the contrast and brightness right here. Can add noise, enhance detail. If you take down the detail, it's gonna look really strange. I usually keep the detail pretty high. Enhance detail, but not at the very top, because that makes it, if these are too detailed, it might look a little pixelated in the game. Okay, now it's spinning again. Texture influence. This also makes it more detailed, but you might want to keep that one a little bit up maybe. And yeah, so anyways, now that I've messed around with these settings, I'm gonna go and save again. Save specularity to file and do the same as the normal and save it to desktop, and it's gonna look like this. There's the normal map, the default one, and the specularity. So after this is done, now we can close CrazyBump, because that's what we need. And we have these 3 files now, and yeah, you want to put these in the same location. Since I copied this one, I don't really need that one. I have it already, but put these ones next to the mat file and the other PNG file. And now, if you open up your material editor again, you want to select those files from these. For example, nmap, normal map. You click on that one and you select the file, which is the NRM file. Okay, and that'll make it more deep. And then you select specularity, select the file, that one, and it might not look like the biggest difference on here, but there is a difference on the preview. So you're more gonna notice it in the game though. So yeah, so now that you've added both of those, you want to just save it over the file that you already have. This one, now it's a little bigger. It was 700 bytes last time, now it's 1 kilobyte. And the level editor might not update that quickly, so first of all I'm gonna just delete this one. Actually, the light value is a little high to see the preview in the game. Maybe I'll turn those off. I'm gonna delete it, save the map, and restart the level editor, because I like to do this to make sure that the files actually update, because they have a hard time doing that sometimes. Not save. I'm gonna go and open map.map, and now I'm gonna go back to planes, select the material, custom story, planes, this thing again, and drag it over. It looks slightly different, I think. Hopefully it did update, because A lot of things are really strange with the editor not updating the files properly. But anyways, if it doesn't update in the level editor, it might still update in the actual game. Let's just hope it did. And if it doesn't update, I'm really curious as to how it manages to find it. Oh no, it does not appear to have updated. That is a problem because I'm not actually sure how to make it update if it's not already. But I know that this material has them applied, as you can see. They are already here on the file and everything, so it should theoretically work at this point. If you didn't load it in the map already, then it could work. Let me try actually opening a new blank map and see if that works. Because I have not messed too much around with this, although I have done this specific thing of adding a few planes. But this one in particular, or this thing in particular, I haven't done too much different with. So as to why it's not working, I'm not actually sure. Take off the ambient light. This looks like it might have actually updated, but I can this one looks awfully square. This texture isn't as good as I thought, but anyways, I do have one example that I can show you of how this one actually looks in the game if you do the correct settings, which is mostly what I've done here. Save this and load it in the game, and it could look like something like this. Alright, so this is a scene from my personal mod, and it looks like this. This is the exact same texture using CrazyBump to do the mapping, and this is how it actually looks like in my story if you do the correct settings. I noticed the settings that I did in this video is slightly different from what I did for this particular texture, where the specularity is a bit lighter and the normal map is a bit more detailed, I suppose. But as you can see, this looks a lot better than the previous texture, and you can just look at this and there's like so much texture all over the walls. They look really detailed, and it's not just because the texture is high resolution, but because the normal map makes it light up and darken down in the right spots for it to look more 3D and more detailed at the same time. So as you can see here on the light, these are all really shining up in the right spots, and it looks really nice. I think this looks really nice, and I don't know about you, but I think it looks great. So you don't of course have to do this, but if you want to, that will certainly make a big difference if you do it the right way. You might have to, the first time I had to do a lot of experimenting with the CrazyBump filtering to make it look nice. So it could take a lot of tries to just resave the file and replace it and reload the game to see if it looks nice, and I think this looks great. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for this tutorial, I believe. Of course, I have CrazyBump linked in the description if you want to try that. And yeah, so I suppose that would be everything. I will thank you for watching, and I will see you later.